Ladies and gentlemen, friends, in the battle of life, we stand together in a world that often mocks our best efforts, where failure seems to be lurking at every corner. It is a truth that none of us can escape. Failure will come. We may dress it in different names, wrap it in different circumstances, but failure remains a universal companion in every human journey. But I ask you, what do you do when all else fails? When the road is dark and you cannot see a single step ahead? When it seems as though the universe itself conspires against you and you feel the weight of your burdens in ways you never imagined? What do you do then? It is in these moments, when the world seems against us and despair threatens to take hold, that the answer is simpler than we might think. It does not require extraordinary strength or divine intervention. It requires something humble and yet profoundly powerful. It is the act of doing this, the act of repetition. Yes, repetition, but not mindless repetition, not the repetitiveness of mere routine or stale habits. No, the repetition that I speak of is deliberate. It is purposeful, and it takes only 3. You see, in life, when everything fails, when your heart falters and your steps become unsure, there are 3 repetitions that you can perform, and with them, you will reignite the fire that failure tries to extinguish. The first repetition is the repetition of courage. It is the courage to stand again when you have fallen. It does not matter how far you've fallen. It matters only that you stand. You see, failure is not the end unless you choose to make it so. Courage is the refusal to be defeated, the resolve to get up once more, even when the heart tells you to remain on the ground. The first repetition, courage, my friends, courage. The second repetition is the repetition of hope. When the weight of doubt presses down upon you and the voices of pessimism crowd your mind, you must repeat hope. Hope is not the absence of difficulty. It is the presence of belief in something better, in the possibility of growth even in the darkest of days. Hope is the silent whisper that reminds you that your story is not yet finished, that the sun, though hidden now, will rise again. The second repetition, hope. Friends, hope. And finally, the third repetition is the repetition of action. You must move, however small the steps may be. It is not enough to hope or to feel courage. You must act. Do the smallest thing that leads you forward, whether it's picking up the phone to make that difficult call, writing that first word of a long-forgotten dream, or even simply getting out of bed. These actions, small though they may seem, break the chains that hold you in despair. The third repetition, action. So remember this, when all else fails, do not despair, for in those 3 repetitions lies the power to overcome the greatest odds. Repeat courage, repeat hope, repeat action, and when you do, something miraculous will happen. The road ahead will no longer seem as dark. The strength you need will be found in your very willingness to begin again. And eventually, what you once feared will become the foundation upon which you build your next success. Let us not be defined by our failures, but by our resolve to rise above them. So when all else fails, do this. 3 repetitions, and never, ever give up. Failure is a concept that touches all of us, no matter who we are or where we come from. It's one of the few true universals in life. Every person at some point experiences failure, whether it's in our personal lives, careers, or our relationships with others. It is something that cannot be avoided, and yet we often treat it as something to be feared, something to be avoided at all costs. The truth, however, is that failure is an integral part of the human condition. It shapes us, refines us, and teaches us in ways success never can. Failure comes in many forms. Sometimes it's as overt as a failed exam, a missed opportunity, or a business that doesn't take off as planned. At other times, failure is quieter, more subtle. It might be the feeling of inadequacy that settles deep within after a relationship falls apart, or the slow burn of regret when we realize we didn't take a chance when we had the chance. We don't always recognize it at first, but failure, in its many forms, is there. What's remarkable, however, is that failure does not discriminate. It does not care about your station in life, your past accomplishments, or your ambitions for the future. Failure does not check your resume before striking. It strikes all of us equally without prejudice. Even the greatest among us, those we look to for inspiration, those who seem to have everything figured out, have their own tales of failure. Take, for example, the great author J.K. Rowling. Before she became a household name for her Harry Potter books, she faced a mountain of rejection. Her manuscript was turned down by 12 different publishers. Imagine what might have happened if she had taken that rejection to heart and allowed it to define her. Or consider the iconic inventor Thomas Edison, who failed thousands of times before he found the right formula for the electric light bulb. And let's not forget about Michael Jordan, the basketball legend, who was once cut from his high school basketball team because they believed he wasn't good enough. These stories are proof that failure does not signify the end. It is a temporary roadblock, not a dead end. The universal experience of failure should be understood not as a moment of personal defeat, but as a shared challenge. Everyone has fallen, everyone has failed. The difference between those who move forward and those who are left behind is not the absence of failure, but how we respond to it. When we face failure, the temptation is often to internalize it, to think that somehow we are the exception, that our failure is an indictment of our worth or abilities. But this is a misunderstanding of failure's true role in our lives. Failure is not a reflection of your inherent value or capability. It is a moment in time, a snapshot of your journey, and it is far from the whole picture. Just because we fail at something doesn't mean we are failures. It means that we've learned something, that we've been given an opportunity to grow. It's important to remind ourselves that every successful person, every person who has achieved something great, has failed. And more importantly, they have failed repeatedly. They've learned to fail forward, using each setback as a springboard toward greater achievements. In fact, failure can be an excellent teacher. It teaches resilience, it teaches perseverance, it teaches patience. It also teaches humility, the understanding that we are not invincible and that growth comes from pushing through adversity. When we fail, we learn what doesn't work, and in the process, we often stumble upon new ideas, new strategies, and new perspectives that lead to success in unexpected ways. It's through failure that we learn to refine our approach, sharpen our focus, and ultimately develop a deeper understanding of ourselves and our goals. In that sense, failure is not something to fear, but something to embrace. It is the ultimate test of our resolve, of our ability to endure and keep moving forward when the path is uncertain. What we often fail to realize is that success is not the absence of failure, but the result of learning how to stand up after we've fallen. So when we experience failure, rather than view it as an insurmountable obstacle, we must recognize it for what it truly is, a temporary setback, a lesson in disguise, and a necessary part of our journey. It is a universal experience, one shared by every human who has ever lived, and in that sense, failure is not something to fear. It is something to be understood, embraced, and most importantly, used to fuel our growth. Failure doesn't define us, it refines us. It prepares us for the successes that lie ahead, teaching us that each step backward is simply a prelude to a giant leap forward. Persistence is often the key that separates those who succeed from those who merely dream. In the face of failure, When the world seems to conspire against us, it is easy to feel disheartened. Many times we may wonder why we should continue pushing forward when every step seems to lead us into a wall. But here lies the profound truth. Success, more often than not, is not a one-time stroke of luck or a single moment of brilliance. It is a result of unwavering persistence, of continuing to move forward despite the setbacks, doubts, and obstacles that seem to line the way. In those moments of failure, persistence is what keeps the flame of hope alive. When things don't go as planned, when we fall short of our expectations or miss the mark entirely, the instinct for most is to pull back, retreat, or give up. We may ask ourselves, why keep going if it's not working? Why continue to struggle when it feels like the universe is against us? But the answer to those questions lies not in the circumstances, but in our ability to persist, the ability to keep going when everything around us suggests that we should stop, is what shapes our character and leads us to ultimate success. Consider for a moment the nature of a seed. A seed is small, seemingly insignificant in its initial state, but inside it lies the potential for something much greater, a towering tree perhaps. However, that seed must endure a process of growth that is anything but immediate. It must push through the earth, fighting against the weight of the soil, the limitations of its small form, and the harshness of the environment. If it were to give up at the first sign of difficulty, it would never grow. The tree, much like our own dreams and ambitions, requires persistence to break through the obstacles that stand in its way. It requires patience, resilience, and an unwavering belief that despite the struggle, the growth will come. The same is true for us in every endeavor we undertake. Persistence is not about mindlessly pushing forward without consideration or strategy. It is about resilience in the face of adversity, and the understanding that the path to success is rarely a straight line. There will be failures along the way, there will be setbacks, and there will be moments when it feels as though we are walking in circles. But persistence is not about avoiding those moments of failure. It is about recognizing that they are part of the journey. It is the ability to stand up again, to dust yourself off, and to try once more with a renewed sense of purpose. The most successful individuals are not those who have never encountered failure, but those who have refused to let failure define them. They understand that failure is simply a stepping stone, not the final destination. Persistence also involves the ability to keep moving forward even when the results are not immediate. It is easy to become discouraged when our efforts do not yield instant success. We live in a world that rewards quick results, where instant gratification is often valued above long-term effort. Yet the true fruits of persistence are often not visible at first. The process of building something meaningful, whether it is a career, a relationship, or a personal goal, takes time, and in that time, there will be moments when we question if our efforts are worth it. But it is in those moments that persistence becomes most crucial. It is in the quiet, difficult hours of waiting that our true strength is tested. Take, for example, the process of writing a book. The first draft may be riddled with mistakes, the second draft might still fall short, and even the third might not feel right. Yet it is only through continuing to write, to revise, and to persist in the face of uncertainty that the final version emerges. The same principle applies to any great achievement. The path may not always be clear, and the obstacles may seem insurmountable. But persistence is the engine that drives progress. It's the refusal to accept failure as the final word. The beauty of persistence lies in its cumulative effect. Every small effort, every incremental step adds up over time. Even if progress feels slow or imperceptible, over time, the compounded effort will lead to significant results. It's a principle as true in business as it is in personal growth. Small, consistent efforts are far more powerful than occasional bursts of enthusiasm that fade when the going gets tough. Every time we persist in the face of difficulty, we are building momentum, and momentum is the force that propels us to new heights. In our lives, persistence also nurtures an internal fortitude that's irreplaceable. It teaches us to trust the process, to keep moving forward even when the outcome is uncertain, and to have faith that our continued efforts will eventually lead us to where we want to be. It cultivates resilience, the ability to recover quickly from adversity, and the strength to stand tall in the face of the storm. So when all seems lost, when failure threatens to claim your confidence and your spirit, remember that persistence is your greatest ally. It is not the most immediate or the most glamorous solution, but it is the one that pays off in the long run. And in the end, persistence is what transforms dreams into reality. Keep going even when the road is rough. Keep going even when you can't see the end. Because it is in the act of continuing, no matter how many times you've stumbled, that success is born. In life, it is easy to look outside ourselves for strength when we encounter failure. We often seek answers in the external world, hoping for a change in circumstances or a shift in our environment to make things better. However, true power, resilience, and growth come not from the world around us, but from within. The strength we need to overcome adversity, to persist in the face of failure, and to find hope when all seems lost, is already present in us. It is in our inner resolve, our inner strength, that we discover the capacity to rise above challenges and navigate the most difficult moments of our lives. Too often, we underestimate the power of our inner selves. We are conditioned to look for solutions in the external world, whether it's the support of others, financial resources, or favorable circumstances. While these things can certainly aid us, they are not the true source of our strength. The real power lies in our ability to summon courage from within, to tap into our inner wellspring of determination and resilience when the world seems unkind and unforgiving. It is this inner strength that sustains us when the path is unclear, when we feel abandoned or misunderstood, and when it feels as though we are alone in our struggles. Inner strength is not something that can be bought, borrowed, or acquired overnight. It is something that we must cultivate within ourselves through intentional effort, reflection, and, often, through experiencing and overcoming failure. Just as a muscle becomes stronger with consistent use and resistance, so too does our inner strength grow when we face adversity head-on. It is through facing our challenges, enduring hardship, and rising again that we develop the inner fortitude necessary to navigate life's most difficult moments. One of the key aspects of inner strength is resilience. Resilience is not just about bouncing back after a failure. It is about learning how to bend without breaking. It's the ability to face setbacks and disappointments without losing our sense of purpose, our sense of self. Resilient people don't give up when things get tough. Instead, they use failure as a lesson, a stepping stone that propels them toward their ultimate goals. The truly resilient individual is someone who has faced hardships and emerged stronger for it. They are not defined by their failures, but by their ability to keep moving forward despite them. Inner strength also involves having the courage to stand firm in our beliefs, even when the world around us tries to convince us otherwise. It's easy to be swept up in the opinions of others, to let external criticism or doubt erode our confidence. But the truly strong individual knows who they are and what they stand for. They trust themselves, their instincts, and their inner wisdom. It is through this unwavering belief in oneself that we can endure the harshest storms and stay true to our path. Moreover, inner strength requires patience. In today's fast-paced world, we are often conditioned to expect quick results and immediate gratification. We are taught to value speed and efficiency over persistence and perseverance. But true inner strength is not about rushing through life's challenges. It is about understanding that growth, both personal and professional, takes time. Success does not happen overnight, and neither does healing or personal transformation. The strength to endure the waiting, to trust the process, and to continue moving forward despite the uncertainty is one of the most powerful gifts we can cultivate within ourselves. In the face of failure, it is all too easy to let self-doubt creep in. We begin to question our abilities, our worth, and our potential. This is where inner strength is most vital. It's in these moments of doubt that we must remember who we are. We must remind ourselves of the resilience that lies within, of the times we've overcome obstacles in the past. We must tap into the well of courage that resides within us and say, I can do this. I am capable of handling this challenge, just as I have handled so many others before. But inner strength is not just about individual resolve. It is also about knowing when to ask for help and when to lean on others. Having the strength to ask for support when needed is not a weakness but a sign of wisdom. It takes inner strength to acknowledge that we are not invincible, that we don't have all the answers. It takes strength to be vulnerable, to let others into our struggles. At the same time, true inner strength also involves knowing that the ultimate responsibility for our lives and actions rests with us. No one can walk the path for us, and no one can give us the strength we need to face our challenges. That strength must come from within. The journey to cultivating inner strength is ongoing and never truly complete. It requires constant self-reflection, self-compassion, and the willingness to grow. We must learn to listen to our inner voice, to trust our intuition, and to embrace our imperfections. Inner strength is not about being perfect or invulnerable. It is about accepting our flaws, our mistakes, and our failures, and still choosing to rise, time and time again. It is the ability to look within, find the courage to press on, and move forward with the confidence that we can handle whatever comes our way.